A very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining us for this weekly press briefing. I see a large turnout, always nice to see that. I have an announcement and then I'll open the floor for questions. You would be aware of the developments in Israel. As announced by External Affairs Minister yesterday, Operation Ajay has been launched to facilitate the return from Israel of our citizens who wish to come back. The first charter flight will be reaching Tel Aviv later tonight to pick up Indian citizens and is likely to return to India tomorrow morning. We will share with you information about further flights as they are finalized. This is still an evolving situation. You are aware, External Affairs Minister took a preparatory meeting earlier in the day. We're also in touch with our, of course, with our embassy in Tel Aviv, our representative office in Ramallah, as well as with our neighboring, the missions in our neighboring, in the neighboring countries there, particularly Jordan, Syria, Egypt, etc. And we are keeping a close watch on developments as well as what steps we need to take to assist Indian citizens who are in Israel. With that announcement, I am happy to try to take a few questions on that. Let's start with you. As always, you're fastest in that. Yeah.
Hi, sir. Siddhant from Vion. How worrisome do you see the situation on ground for Indian citizens in Israel? If you can talk about that. And also, are we reaching out to Israel in terms of any support, especially when it comes to weapons? Are we considering that?
Okay. Let me do one thing. I think there might be interest in this topic, so let's take that together. There are other issues. So, yeah, go ahead. This is on the situation in Israel. Yeah.
Sir, Meghna from DD News. Any figure on how many Indian nationals have registered to be evacuated and how many flights are we planning initially?
Okay, and flights. Okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hi sir, I'm Siddhant from CNN News 18. So Foreign Ministry of Israel has confirmed that they have reached understanding with some countries where those countries are sending reservists in a flight to Israel, and Israel will send their citizens back. Is this the same understanding they have with India?
Could you repeat understanding with India between the Foreign Ministry of Israel?
No, Israel and India, sir, because other European countries are sending their people back in the same flight, and then that flight is taking their citizens. It's like a barter that they. Yes.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat your question? What exactly is barters and all? Very worried.
Yeah. Reservist, Israeli reservist.
Israel is going back.
Yeah.
Got it.
So are we also sending some reservists back in this
flight? Fair enough. Yeah, please go ahead.
सर संदीप फ्रॉम न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया. सर मेरा सवाल है कि एयरफोर्स को भी आप लोगों ने स्टैंड बाय पे रखा है, अगर ज़रूरत पड़ी तो क्या एयरफोर्स का भी इस्तेमाल किया जाएगा इस इवैक्यूएशन के लिए?
ओके. और कौन था? या मानस.
This is Manas from PTI. I just want to know, in fact, how India sees the overall situation that has arisen out of the conflict between Israel and Hamas, and our position on Palestinian cause. So, what do you have to say on that in the context of the current situation?
Sorry, your question is on the Palestinian position, right?
Yeah, as well as overall situation. So
that's a very broad question. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I'll come to you.
Sir, Ayush Agarwal from ANI. So there were reports of an Indian caregiver from Kerala who was injured during the attack by Hamas. Are we in touch with her family and any Indian casualty that we know of?
Before I come to, yeah, please go ahead. Sorry, I missed you.
Sir, Rishikesh from PTI. Is India supporting Israel in war against Hamas? Especially there are reports of massive civilian casualties in Gaza. And
sorry, didn't get your question. Could you repeat?
Is India supporting Israel on war against Hamas?
By doing what?
Moral or
like generally, you mean? You mean what is our stand?
Yes. Okay. And did PM Modi convey to Israeli PM that this is not an era war?
Okay. Yeshi, go ahead.
Yeshi Seli from the New Indian Express. Is there any evacuation program for Indians stuck in Palestine as well, or this is only for Israel?
Okay, fair enough. I saw one more hand. Yes, ma'am. No, microphone, please.
Milan from India today. Just want to understand India's stance now, considering the recent events. Will India also go ahead and look at, changing its stance, or maybe trying to suggest, as other nations are suggesting, that Hamas is a terrorist organization?
And anybody else left that I haven't missed out? Yeah. One more additional. Okay, please. I know it's an important topic.
Sir, Meghna from DD News. We know that security has been increased outside the Embassy of Israel in New Delhi and also other Jewish establishments. Are there any security concerns that the Israel Embassy has conveyed to us?
Okay. Pia?
Hi, Pia with the print. Just a simple question. How many Indians in the first batch?
Which batch?
The first batch of Indians being evacuated.
On the flight. Flight, okay. Yeah, your hand is not visible. Yeah, please, right. Please stand up if you need. Yeah.
This is Devi Rupa from the Wire. I'm just appending to the earlier questions from Manas and others. Other countries, for example, UAE, Jordan, Egypt, and Japan, they've all called for maximum restraint on. They've not named which party, but they asked all sides to exercise maximum restraint. Is that also something that we would like to add to it, add our voice to it?
Add to what, sir?
Add our voice to the call of restraint in the region.
Okay, I think I've taken almost all the questions. You have something? Okay, please go ahead.
So the Palestinian envoy to India yesterday in an interview said that he would ask India to intervene and de-escalate the whole issue. What's India's position on that?
He has told, us or just the media? Okay. And for the record, if you could tell your name and so I'll help.
Sorry, this is Rishabh from Times Now, sir.
Okay. Okay, I'll try to answer many of these questions. No, I think second thoughts, let's keep it for a little later. I think a lot of similar questions. Look, I think on this, you've seen the statements or the comments by Prime Minister. I think that's been very clear on them. But let me try to answer some of the specific queries that you had. Let me first look at Operation Ajay. Look, as I said, the flight is expected to, the ferry flight is expected to reach today later in the evening, and then hopefully they'll pick up passengers and come back tomorrow morning. We expect, I think it can carry about 230 odd passengers. That's what we are hoping can fill it up, but depending, look, this number is broad. How many people can get onto a flight is determined by various factors, including what is the flight parameters. So let's say in that range, we were trying to work that out. So that was one. Do we have, आपने पूछा था संदीप जी कि हमारे वायुसेना के अगर जी हमारे पास सारे ऑप्शंस हैं, जो ज़रूरत पड़ेगा हम वो यूज़ करेंगे. अभी के लिए चार्टर फ्लाइट गई हैं, पर जैसे हमने कहा हमने पुराने कुछ ऐसे स्थितियों में हमारे वायुसेना का भी असिस्टेंस लिया है. तो अभी के लिए हम अभी चार्टर फ्लाइट देख रहे हैं, पर ये मैं रूल आउट नहीं करूँगा. There was a query, Siddhant, about people being taken on this side. Look, that I think you would ask the Israeli embassy. We have chartered a flight for bringing people back. So how it happens, talk to the charter organization and the embassy. I think the best to answer your query on that one. There's no barter. Then there was a query of how many Indians, wahan pe, I think Meghna, you asked that question. How many Indians? Look, this is a dynamic situation. It's evolving. There are a lot of people. In fact, I would request Indians in Israel, if you haven't registered with the embassy, please do register with the embassy. But we are taking it based on the number of flights. So today's flights, we have the numbers that are there. And we will have more flights depending on the demand for them. So at this point, we are trying to address it as per the demands. As regards security concerns look, this is a topic and I will not be in a position to discuss. You have to ask the agencies. We will, of course, as part of our obligations on the Vienna Convention, provide all necessary security to host to countries that have their embassies or diplomatic missions here. But what measures and etc. is best left to the judgment of experts in that field. I don't want to comment on it. I think you had a query, Siddhant, right in the beginning about weapons of support. I'm not aware of any such request or anything that we are doing at all. Our focus right now is to make sure that those Indians who are in Israel are able to come out of Israel, those who want to. I think there are about 18,000 odd Indian citizens. A small percentage of that are Indian students, happens. You said how worrisome is the situation? Of course, look, a situation where there is conflict going on is of concern, but I would request the Indian citizens there to follow the advisories issued by our mission in Tel Aviv, and they are the best judge, and be cautious, take the precautions, and if they feel that they need assistance, to reach out to our embassy directly. Ayushi, you asked about one citizen who was there, I think, injured. Yes, we are aware of that case. Of course, we are in touch with them. I understand the person is in hospital, but I think it's improving or has better situation. We are also, of course, thankfully have not heard of any Indian casualty so far. I think there was also a question by Yeshi. Are you looking at evacuation, or, well, there's not so much an evacuation as actually getting focuses on assisting people getting out. I think my understanding, the number is about a dozen or 13 or something, or dozen odd people are in the West Bank and 3 or 4 in Gaza. So if they request assistance, we will. But that number, as you can imagine, is very small, and we will see what needs to be done. For the moment, we haven't received requests there. The requests what we have received are largely from Israel. Moving on to the discussions that have happened largely on this. Look, let me try to answer some of those. On the issue of how we see Hamas, for example, as you're aware, the designation of a terrorist organization under Indian laws is a legal matter. And I would refer you, I think, Milan, you asked, I would refer you to the relevant authorities in this. I think we've been very clear that we see this as a terrorist attack. But on the designation part, the relevant authorities are best placed to respond to it. How do we see the situation on Palestine, or our position on that? Our policy in this regard has been long-standing and consistent. India has always advocated the resumption of direct negotiations towards establishing a sovereign, independent and viable state of Palestine, living within secure and recognized borders, side by side, at peace with Israel. And I think that position remains the same. There were some queries about how do we see the developments that are happening, including the violence that's taken place, as well as did Prime Minister raise some issues, including I think Prime Minister conversation or his comments stand on their own, and I think they do not require any clarification. On Palestine, as I mentioned, we have said our position on what is our long-standing position. The only element that I would like to add is that there is regarding particularly the humanitarian situation or the developments you said, I think restraint, Devirupa, you had asked, and Rishabh, I think you had asked about whether the intervention, I don't know what you meant by intervention. We are, as I said, our focus is to assist our citizens. But there is an universal obligation, I think, to observe international humanitarian law. There is also a global responsibility to fight the menace of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. And I think that accurately sums up how we look at this position. I think I've covered most of the queries. If there are a couple of more hands, if there's something on an extra additional clarification or somebody else had a hand up, and then we'll move on to some other topics. Yeah, please, ma'am, go ahead.
Sir, I'm Madhurima from Republic TV. I want to ask that how is India connecting with other nations in the Middle East on the Israel situation? Like we heard that EM speaking to UAE counterpart. Any other conversations that are happening in this connection? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Other nations. Okay. Somebody else had a hand up? Yeah, please go ahead.
सर मधुरेंद्र मैं न्यूज़ नेशन से स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनर के तौर पर हम इजराइल की क्या मदद कर सकते हैं और क्या तैयारी है, क्योंकि पिछले अगर 65 से लेकर 71 के वॉर में देखें तो इजराइल ने अनकंडीशनल भारत की मदद की थी. इस वक्त इजराइल वॉर में है और ये एक डिक्लेयर वॉर है, तो हम उनकी क्या स्ट्रेटेजिकली मदद कर रहे हैं या कर सकते हैं?
ओके.
और मिसिंग कॉज का आंसर एक बार हिंदी में आप दीजिए.
ठीक है. और somebody else had a hand up. Yes, go ahead.
Sandhya from ET. So just want to get a sense, given this background with what's happening in Israel, what is the status of IMEC, and do you think that will be impacted in any way now?
IMEC. Okay, if there are no other questions on this topic, you have a follow-up? You already asked a question, yeah. You normally have one. Yeah, microphone please. Without microphone.
Just a follow-up only. Considering what would India's position be as US has reiterated to Israel that they must follow laws of the war. And what is India's position on that? Because as we all know, Gaza Strip is now being...
I just answered the question, but I'll repeat
blockaded.
that. Okay, thank you. Okay, good. You can't think of a question later. Please go ahead.
सर शैलेंद्र न्यूज़ 18 से एक क्लैरिफिकेशन, क्या हम इसको इवैक्यूएशन बोल रहे हैं या नहीं, क्योंकि ट्वीट में भी हमने देखा कि इवैक्यूएशन इज नॉट मेंशन्ड, इट्स बीइंग सेड कि उनको फैसिलिटेट किया जा रहा है वहाँ से रिटर्न करना चाहते हैं उनके लिए, क्योंकि एयर स्पेस अभी बंद नहीं हुआ है। दूसरा ये कि एक सवाल, जो गाज़ा में एक कश्मीरी लेडी हैं जो फंसी हुई हैं, उनके हस्बैंड पैलेस्टीनियन हैं, ये केस आपके नॉलेज में होगा, उनके रिटर्न के लिए, क्योंकि आपने कहा कि करीब 12 के आसपास वेस्ट बैंक में है और 4 के आसपास गाज़ा में है, उनके रिटर्न के लिए कोई प्लान अभी है या उनको वहाँ से निकालने का अभी कोई ऐसा कोई ऑपरेशन अजय भी चलाया जाएगा?
Okay. Let me just take Milan, on your question, let me repeat what I just said. No, I think that sums up as I said. We do believe there is an international, universal obligation to observe international humanitarian law. And there is also a global responsibility to fight the menace of terrorism in all its forms and manifestation. I think that addresses your query. I don't want to repeat it again. शैलेंद्र, आपका प्रश्न था नहीं, आप किसने हिंदी में किसने पूछा था? आप नहीं, नदुरेंद्र, सॉरी, आपने पूछा था हिंदी पे। देखिए, हमारी जो पॉलिसी रही है वो हमेशा लॉन्ग स्टैंडिंग रही है, कंसिस्टेंट भी रही है। भारत ने हमेशा कहा है कि डायरेक्ट नेगोशिएशंस किया जाए, उनकी शुरुआत फिर से करें, उसका समर्थन किया है, जो कि इजराइल के साथ ऐसा, ताकि इजराइल के साथ शांति से सुरक्षित और रिकॉग्नाइज सीमाओं के भीतर रहने वाले एक संप्रभु, स्वतंत्र और वायबल पैलेस्टीनियन स्टेट का स्थापना करेगा। आप चाहते थे हिंदी में। और Madhurima, you had asked about how is India connecting. Look, in the world of diplomacy, we are always engaged in conversations and contacts. At the External Affairs Minister level, as you correctly mentioned, he had put out. Whenever there's some specific engagement that takes place, we will certainly share with you. But of course, we maintain close contacts, and we have been at various levels with all relevant stakeholders. And I think that's part of our diplomatic outreach. Sandhya, your query was on IMEC, was it? Yeah. I think you are comparing apples and oranges in terms of the current one. Look, the issues of, let's say, the IMEC, the initiative like that, these are initiatives with long-term significance. And what you are talking about in terms of what we're addressing in terms of, let's say, Operation Ajay, is a response to a terrorist attack and what we have to do. So I think those are not comparable. We value the IMEC as an initiative with long-term significance. I think एक शैलेंद्र, आपका प्रश्न था इवैक्यूएशन क्या है, पता नहीं आप इस नॉमेनक्लेचर से क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है। हमारे लिए फोकस इससे है कि किस तरह से भारतीय नागरिक जो वहाँ पे हैं उनको वापस ला पाए, जो आना चाहते हैं। गाज़ा में आपने जिक्र किया, हैं हमारे 3 या 4 सिटीजन्स हैं, हम उनके साथ संपर्क में हैं, पर अभी जो इसकी कंस्ट्रेंट्स है उसमें दिक्कत है उनको कोई डायरेक्टली निकालने का, पर हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं जो भी सोल्यूशन हो सके उसमें हम जितना मदद कर सकें हम करेंगे। Moving on to other topics, anybody else has second round question? नहीं, हाँ मधु, आपने पूछा तो था, हाँ सॉरी, आपका स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनर के तौर पे। देखिए, मैं आपको गलत प्रश्न पूछने, उन्होंने कुछ मांगा है हमसे, ऐसा कोई मुझे तो मालूम नहीं है। नहीं, जितना मैंने कह दिया, प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो कहना था उन्होंने अपने ट्वीट में कह दिया है, उनका प्रेस रिलीज भी निकला है, उसके आगे मैं कुछ कह नहीं पाऊँगा, और मुझे ऐसा कुछ मालूम नहीं उन्होंने कोई स्पेसिफिक रिक्वेस्ट की है हमें। अदर टॉपिक्स फॉर रीसेट? नो, आई विल टेल Sudhi, he hasn't asked a question. Go ahead, Sudhi.
Sir, Sudhi Ranjan from Bloomberg. So moving away from Israel and the Gaza, on Canada, sir, there have been reports that the External Affairs Minister had met his Canadian counterpart. Now, can you give us a confirmation or a denial on that? And also
a denial also with you.
A denial or a confirmation or any details of the meeting, whatever is possible, sir.
Fair enough.
And also, adding to that, the speaker, Canadian speaker, was absent at the G20 parliamentary G20 lawmakers meet. Now, is India seeing this as a continuation of the spat between India and Canada, or is it seeing it separately, as a separate incident?
Okay. Yes.
This is Vinita Pandey from the Asian East Deccan Chronicle. Arinder, my question is, what is the update on the Canadian diplomat staff here? Given that India had asked for parity in ranks and numbers, is there any update on that?
Okay. Let me maybe take all the Canadian ones together. Anything else? Canada, no, before that. Somebody else didn't ask? No, you had, all of you asked a question. So second round, okay, quick. Normally we had one question, but today I know the multiple topics.
So
Yeah.
Ayushi Agarwal from ANI. So Canadian Prime Minister, while discussing this Israel-Hamas situation with some of his leaders, he brought up the issue of India. He said the diplomatic spat, and also your comment on that, his discussion with Jordan and UAE ministers.
Okay. Yeah, Madhurima.
Sir, I wanted to ask that if Canadian diplomats who were supposed to leave, have they left or not? Because Canadian reports are suggesting that there has been an understanding between the two countries and that they'll not
Same question of Vinita, no? Yeah.
And an extension to that, that Trudeau has been tweeting that while speaking to the world leaders, he's also talking about India to them. How does ME respond?
Yeah. Same question. Ayushi just asked this. You've not been following Ayushi. Okay. Yeah, Yashi.
Is any Canadian parliamentarian coming for the P20?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, with the print, just wanted to clarify some claims that came in a Financial Times report recently that said EM met Canadian...
First question by Sudhi already.
Sorry.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Manush.
Manas from PTI. The reports from Canada actually indicated that Canadian foreign ministry is suggesting, actually questioning India's argument on parity of diplomatic presence, saying that no such provision exists under the Vienna Convention. So what do you have to say on that?
Fair enough. I think yes. Okay. Let me just try to answer. I think there are 2 or 3 types of questions. Let me start with the basic one, the parity one. Let me just, we've spoken about parity here earlier, a couple of times, I think. Let me stress that we remain committed to what we said, that is, ensuring parity in our diplomatic presence. We remain engaged with Canadian authorities on the modalities of achieving that. And when we have something specific to share, we will certainly do so. For the moment, let me just emphasize that we are engaged with the Canadian authorities to ensure the parity that we mentioned. There was a related question on Prime Minister Trudeau having raised this with other leaders. Look, I don't know really how this helps address the core issue. And what is the core issue? That space given by Canada to terrorists and criminal elements. And as regards upholding international conventions, that came up in that conversation, some of them, as well as I think Manash's query, we would urge Canada to take more seriously their international obligations to provide security to our diplomats and their premises. From our part, I can assure you that everything India is doing is in compliance with the Vienna Conventions on diplomatic relations. So I think, Manish, that was a specific query you had. As for the query about reports of meeting between External Affairs Minister and his foreign Canadian counterpart, let me say that we have been in touch with the Canadians at various levels. Regarding any specific interaction, I don't have any particular information to share. I think that probably covers Yeshi, your question about Canadian Parliament, or if anybody else is coming. We invite all members for G20 events, in this case the P20. Participation is their decision and is subject to a number of factors. I think you should ask them. I'll have to check whether anybody is actually attending from Canada, because I think the Parliament Speaker could not attend. Okay, any other topics, or should I close? Anything? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, we'll come back to you. Give me a quickly, we'll wrap up.
Sir,
Yeah.
I'm Huma Siddiqui from the Financial Express. There are reports coming in, that there are discussions going on between India and Russia for the annual summit. Any update on that?
What you mean, about the summit?
Yes.
Okay.
If it will happen.
Yeah. You have to take a seat. I can't see you there. Yeah, go ahead. Vedika, yeah, go ahead.
Vedika from CNN. Just a question on whether visas are being processed for Pakistani nationals to attend the match on Saturday, India versus Pakistan.
You mean as players, they're here?
No, no. I'm talking about visitors. If they are being...
Fans.
Yeah, fans
Okay.
from Pakistan. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Microphone to you. What question है आपका?
So, Urvashi Kona from the New Indian. You spoke about the Canadian speaker not coming, but what was the reason that has been specified?
I answered
because, it is a U-turn that has been taken. They at first confirmed it and then later on they have just not...
You just walked in, so you missed part of it. I'll repeat the answer for you. Yeah.
सर संदीप फ्रॉम न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया सर इंडिया और चाइना के बीच जो कोर कमांडर लेवल टॉक्स हुए थे 20 का टॉक्स था सर वो भी बिना किसी कंसेंसस के रह गया क्या वजह है क्यों नहीं कंसेंसस बन पा रही है 20 बार वार्ता हो चुकी है
Okay, I think we'll close. You have something else? Third question. Okay, anyway, go ahead, quick. China. Okay.
सर मधुरन न्यूज़ नेशन से चीन और भूटान खासतौर पे अपनी बाउंड्री की इश्यूज को सेटल कर रहे हैं और जो रिपोर्ट से उसके मुताबिक डोकलाम जी से लेकर काफ़ी विवाद हुआ था उसका भी सेटलमेंट किया जा रहा है क्या इस बाउंड्री सेटलमेंट पर भारत की नज़र है और अगर है तो हम कैसे इसको देख रहे हैं अपने स्टेट
मतलब जनरल कमेंट चाहिए मुझसे Okay, let me take. Look, Vedika, on your question on visas, general visas are, not handled. We are not the right ministry, and I would refer you to the relevant authorities for that. I won't have any update. Urvashi, your query was on what? The last part about Canada speaker. Let me just address that because I just said, look, we invite all leaders, all countries to participate, and same was done for the Parliament 20 that is going on. Participation is their decision, and there are usually a number of factors that go into that. So I would request you to ask the Canadian side on it. Huma, your query was on the issue of something about, you said, no, in the context you said whether, what was the query? That is it happening or not happening? That kind of thing. Okay. Look, as you know, for these kind of high-level interactions, we announce these things at the appropriate time. I have no update, to be honest. I saw some reports based on what our ambassador in Moscow said. I think he wasn't quoted accurately. I don't think there's an immediate date or plans for that. But when we have anything to share with you, we'll certainly do that. संदीप जी, आपका प्रश्न था कि हमारा चीन के साथ जो वार्ता चल रही है उसमें क्यों नहीं हो रहा है सक्सेस. नहीं, हम भी चाहते हैं, इसीलिए तो बात कर रहे हैं ताकि कोई सक्सेसफुल सोल्यूशन हो. मैं नहीं कहूँगा कंसेंसस नहीं है, हमारी तरफ से आता है. जो हमने कहा है उस प्रेस रिलीज़ में हमारा क्या पर्सपेक्टिव है और हम किस तरह से आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं इसको. आपने अगर देखा होगा मेरे पास यहाँ पे है ये जो 20वीं राउंड अभी वार्ता हुई थी कोर कमांडर लेवल पे, और हमने जैसा कहा है कि इस पे बातचीत हुई और बाकी इश्यूज़ पे जैसे हमारे लीडर्स की तरफ से जो गाइडेंस था उसके बेसिस पे हम लोग आगे बातचीत करते रहेंगे. और इसमें की मोमेंटम जो है डायलॉग और नेगोशिएशंस का इससे भी हम आगे बढ़ाते रहेंगे. और बीच इसके अंतराल में पीस और ट्रैंक्विलिटी जो है बहरहाल उसको रखना चाहिए. अगर बहुत आसान होता तो सॉल्व हो जाता. मुद्दे काफ़ी हैं, इसीलिए वार्तालाप चल रही है और हमारी कोशिश यही रहेगी कि हम इस पे कोई सोल्यूशन निकाल पाए. मधुरेंद्र जी, आपका प्रश्न था, आप कोई मीडिया रिपोर्ट की बात कर रहे हैं जिससे उसके बारे में बात कर रही हैं जनरली. मैं सिर्फ इतना कहूँगा इसमें कि देखिए सरकार सभी इस सब मुद्दों पर लगातार नज़र रखती है और भारत की सुरक्षा के प्रभावित करने वाली कोई भी इशू हो, इसकी जो सुरक्षा इसके लिए सेफगार्ड कोई मेजर लेना हो, ये पूरी तरह लेती है. और मैं ये भी कहना चाहूँगा भूटान के संदर्भ में कि भारत और भूटान के बीच बहुत करीबी और विशिष्ट संबंध है और जो इनके बीच विश्वास, आपसी समझ और आपसी चिंता के मुद्दों पर क्लोज कंसल्टेशन रहता है, ये इसकी विशेषता है. तो मैं इतना ही कहना चाहूँगा, आगे और कुछ है नहीं मेरे पास इस टॉपिक पे. थैंक यू वेरी मच. यू हैव समथिंग ऑन अ फॉलो अप, अदरवाइज आई एम गोइंग टू क्लोज. टेल मी क्विकली, लास्ट वन.
Is UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak likely to come to
That's
India?
not a worth question for the last one. When we have something to share with you on a high level visit, we'll certainly do so. Thank you.